Oh, don't worry. You're not disturbing me. I'd much rather talk than write. And yet here I am, day in and day out, haunted by one thought. I must write. I must write. I must write. You know, I sometimes ask myself why I write in this corner of the room. I don't write at the desk. Because there's a hole in the ceiling. When the rain comes in, the water leaks, and I can't write there. And I can't move the desk because there's a hole on the floor that I left there. But still, I do all my writing here, you know. I sometimes wonder why I write so much, day in, day out, word after word, paragraph after paragraph, story upon story. The answer is quite simple, really. I don't have a choice. I am a writer. Sometimes, you know, I think I'm quite mad. Oh, don't worry, I'm quite harmless. But I am given to fits of wandering. Sometimes I get into conversations with people, and there is no sound. I watch the silent movements of the lips and respond with the usual, yes, yes, of course. But all the time thinking, wouldn't this person make a great character for my next short story? I love writing. I love reading what I write, except when I have to read the proof. And then it's wrong, it's a mistake, it sounds horrible, it reads horrible. And then it gets published, and the public read it. Charming but clever. Charming and clever, they say. But a far cry from Turgenev or Tolstoy. Charming and clever. I'm sure I'm going to listen to that till my dying day. And after I'm dead, my friends will walk past my tombstone, look at it and say, here lies so-and-so, a good writer, but not Turgenev or Tolstoy. You know, before you all came into the theater, I was thinking of giving it all up. Because ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to. Excuse me, an idea has just occurred to me. I think it is probably because I mentioned the word theater. It's an idea for a new short story. Let me just jot it down. Well, what was I saying? Oh, yes, I was saying when I was a child, I always wanted to. Excuse me, my thoughts are consumed by this short story. Let's see if it appeals to you. It starts in a theater. It starts at the beginning of the new season. It starts with those dear and devoted patrons of the art who wave and greet each other in the grand salon, commenting to each other about how this one looks or what that one is wearing, scarcely aware of what play they're going to be watching that evening. All with the exception of one man, Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov. If Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov, a civil servant, a clerk in the Ministry of Public Parks, had one true passion at all, it was the theater. He certainly had hopes of higher office, but he had dedicated his life to hard work, zeal, and patience. But still, he could not deny himself his one true pleasure. So he bought 2 tickets to the best section of the theater for the opening night's performance of Rostov's Bearded Countess. Now, as fortune would have it, into the theater came that day his respected superior, Admiral Mikhail Brasilov, the Minister for Public Parks himself.
Good evening, Admiral.
What?
Good evening.
Oh, yes, good evening.
Permit me, sir. I'm Cherdakov, Ivan Ilyich. This is a great honor for me, sir.
Yes.
Like yourself, dear Admiral, I too serve on the Ministry of Public Parks. That is to say, I serve you, who is indeed himself the Minister of Public Parks. I am the Assistant Chief Clerk in the Department of Trees and Bushes.
Ah, yes. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Lovely trees and bushes this year.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir. My wife would like to say hello, sir. This is she, my wife, Madame Cherdakov.
How do you do, General?
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
How do you do?
Madame Brasilov, my wife, Madame Cherdakov.
How do you do, Madame Brasilov?
How do you do?
I just had the pleasure of meeting your husband.
And I am my wife's husband. How do you do, Madame?
Shh. Sorry. My apologies.
I hope you enjoy the play, sir.
I will, if I can watch it.
Feeling quite pleased with himself that he had made the most of the golden opportunity, Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov sat back to enjoy the bearded countess. He was no longer a stranger to the Minister of Public Parks. He had become, if one could be generous about the matter, familiar with him. And then, quite suddenly, without any warning, like a bolt from the great thundering sky, Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov reared his head back and...
Oh my goodness! I'm terribly sorry, Your Excellency. I'm so terribly sorry.
Never mind. It's all right.
It's all right. It's certainly not all right, sir. It's unpardonable. It was monstrous of me.
You make too much of this matter. Let it rest.
Let it rest? How can I let it rest, sir? Permit me to wipe your neck, General. It's the least I can do.
Leave it be. It's all right, I say.
But I splattered you, sir. Your complete head is splattered. It was an accident, I assure you, but it's disgusting.
Shh. Sorry. My apologies.
But the thing is, Your Excellency, it came out completely without warning. It was out of my nose even before I could stifle it. Shh. Yes, yes. Shh. Sorry, sorry. It's not a cold, if that's what you're worrying about, sir. Probably a particle of dust in my nostril.
Try as he might, Cherdyakov couldn't put the incident out of his mind. The sneeze, no more than an innocent anatomical accident, grew out of all proportion in his mind until it began to resemble the angry roar of a cannon aimed squarely at the enemy camp. He played the incident back in his mind, slowing down the procedure so he could view once again in horror the infamous deed.
Charming. Charming.
Yes, charming.
Charming. Simply charming. Wasn't it charming, my dear?
It was utterly charming.
I was completely charmed by it.
Excuse me.
Who's tapping? Who's that tapping?
I'm tapping, sir. I'm the tapper, Cherdakov.
Oh, stand back, dear. It's a sneezer.
No, it's all right. I'm all sneezed out. I was just concerned about you going out to the night air with a damp head, sir.
Oh, that? It was a trifle. A mere faux pas. Forget it, young man. Amusing play, don't you think? Did you find it amusing?
Amusing? Oh, yes! How true! So funny, I haven't laughed so much in years.
Which part interested you the most?
The sneeze! When I sneezed on you, sir, it was unforgivable.
Forget it, young man. Come, my dear. It looks like rain. I don't want to get my head wet again.
You mustn't let anyone sneeze on you, my dear. You are not to be sneezed at.
I'm ruined. I'm ruined. They're gonna fire me from trees and bushes. They'll send me down to branches and twigs.
Come, Ivan.
What?
You mustn't let it concern you. It was just a harmless little sneeze. The Admiral's probably forgotten it already.
You really think so?
No, I'm scared.
And so they walked home in despair.
Maybe I should send him some gifts. Perhaps a few Turkish towels?
Cherdyakov's once promising career had literally been blown away.
Why did this have to happen to me? Why did I go to the theater at all? Why didn't we just sit in the balcony with people of our own class? They love sneezing on each other.
Come to bed, Ivan.
Perhaps I should go back to the general and explain matters again. but in such a charming, honest, and self-effacing manner, he would have no choice but to forgive me.
Maybe it's best not to remind him.
No! If I ever expect to become a gentleman, I must behave like one.
And so the morning came. It so happened that that was the day the Admiral listened to petitions. And since there were 50 to 60 petitions ahead of Cherdyakov, he had to wait from morning till late afternoon.
Next! Next!
Oh, I'm not next, Your Excellency, I'm last.
Very well then. Last.
That's me, sir.
Well, what is your petition?
Well, I'm not a petitioner. I don't have a petition.
Then you waste my time.
Do you not recognize me, Your Excellency? We met last night under rather explosive circumstances. I'm the splatterer.
The what?
The sneezer. The one who sneezed. The sneezing splatterer.
Indeed. And what is it you want now? A Gesundheit?
No, Your Excellency. Your forgiveness. I just wanted to point out to you that there was no political or antisocial motivation behind my sneeze. It was a complete non-partisan, non-violent act of God. And I cursed the day the protuberance formed itself on the face. It's a hateful nose, sir. But I'm not responsible for its indiscretion. Punish that which committed the crime, but absolve the innocent body behind it. Exile the nose, Your Excellency, but please, Your Excellency, please forgive me.
My dear young man, I'm not angry with your nose. I'm far too busy to have time for your nasal problems. I suggest you go home and take a hot bath. Or a cold one, take something. But don't bother me with this business again. Gibber, gibber, gibber. That's all I've heard all day. Gibber, gibber, gibber.
Thank you, sir. May God bless you and your wife and your household. May your days be sweet, and may your nights be better than your days.
The feeling of relief that came over Cherdyakov was enormous.
May the birds sing in the morning at your window, and may the coffee in your cup be strong and hot.
The weight of the burden lifted was inestimable.
I worship the chair that you sit on, and the uniform you wear that sits on the chair that I worship.
He walked home singing and whistling like a lark. The world was a joy, a marvel, a heavenly paradise.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
And yet, when he got home, he began to think.
Have I been the butt of a cruel and thoughtless joke?
Had the minister toyed with him?
If he had no intention of punishing me, why did he torment me so unmercifully?
If the sneeze meant so little to the Admiral, why did he deliberately cause Cherdyakov to writhe in his bed?
To twist in agony the entire night?
Cherdyakov was furious.
I'm furious!
He foamed and fumed and paced the night through, until in the morning he called out to his wife, Sonia!
Sonia! I have been humiliated.
You, Ivan? Who would humiliate you? You're such a kind and generous person.
Who? I'll tell you who. Admiral Brassilov, the Minister of Public Parks.
What did he do?
The swine! He has humiliated me in such subtle fashion, it was almost indiscernible. The man's cunning is equal only to his cruelty. He forced me to come to his office and grovel and beg on my knees. I was reduced to a gibbering idiot.
You were that reduced?
I must go back and tell him what I think of him. The lower classes must speak up. The world must be made safe so that people of all nations and creed, regardless of color or religion, will be free to sneeze on their superiors. It is he who will be humiliated by I.
And so, in the morning, he came to humiliate he.
Last. Well,
you say. Do you not recognize me, Your Excellency? Look at my face. That's right. It is I once again.
it is you once again? Who?
Cherdyakov, Your Excellency. And I have returned having neither taken a hot bath nor a cold one.
Who let this filthy man in? What is it?
What is it? What is it, you ask? You sit there behind your desk and ask, what is it? You sit there in your lofty position as Admiral and Minister of Public Parks and ask me, a lowly civil servant, what is it? You sit there with full knowledge that there is no equality in this life, that there are those of us who serve and those that are served, those of us who bow and those that are bowed to, those of us who obey and those that are obeyed. And in life, certain events take place that cause some of us to be humiliated. And there are those who are the cause of that humiliation. And still you ask me, what is it?
What is it? Don't stand there gibbering like an idiot. What is it you want?
I'll tell you what I want, sir. I'll tell you what I want. I want to apologize to you for sneezing on you, sir. I wasn't sure I made it clear. I just wanted to assure you.
Out! Out, you idiot! Fool! Imbecile! Get out of my sight! I never want to see you again. If you ever cross my line of vision again, I'll have you exiled forever. What's your name?
Cherdakov.
You germ spreader! You maggot! You insect! You're lower than an insect! You're the second cousin to a cockroach! The son-in-law of a bedbug! The nephew of a ringworm! You are nothing, do you hear me? Nothing!
At that moment, something broke loose inside of Cherdyakov. Something so deep and vital, so organic, that the damage done seemed irreparable. Something drained from him which could only be described as the very life force itself. The matter was over, for once, for all, forever. What happened next was quite simple. Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov went back home, took off his coat, lay down on the floor, and died. Wait. For those of you offended by life's cruelties, there is an alternate ending. Ivan Ilyich Cherdyakov went back home, took off his coat, lay down on the floor, and inherited 500 million rubles. There's no real point to it, but it is uplifting. I assure you, it is not my intention to paint life any harsher than it is. But some of us in life are indeed trapped. Witness the predicament of this young governess who looks after and educates the children of a well-to-do family.
Julia!
Trapped, indeed.
Julia!
Yes, madam.
Look at me, child. Pick your head up. I like to see your eyes when I speak to you.
Yes, madam.
And how are the children coming along with their French lessons?
They're very bright children, madam.
Eyes up. Very bright, you say. Well, why not? And mathematics? They're doing well in mathematics, I assume?
Yes, madam. Especially Vanya.
Certainly. I knew it. I excelled in mathematics. He gets that from his mother, wouldn't you say?
Yes, madam.
Head up. That's right. Don't be afraid to look people in the eye, my dear. If you think of yourself as inferior, that's exactly how people will treat you.
Yes, madam.
A quiet girl, aren't you? All right, then. Let's settle our accounts. I imagine you'll need money, although you never asked me for it yourself. So then, we agreed on 30 rubles a month, did we not?
40, ma'am.
No, 30. I made a note of it. I always pay my governesses 30. Who told you 40?
You did, ma'am. I spoke to no one else concerning money.
Impossible. Maybe you thought you heard 40 when I said 30. If you kept your head up, that wouldn't happen. Now look at me again, and I'll say it again clearly. 30 rubles a month.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been here 2 months exactly.
2 months and 5 days, ma'am.
No, exactly 2 months. I made a note of it. You should keep books the way I do to avoid these discrepancies. So 2 months at 30 rubles, that makes 60 rubles.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And 9 Sundays. We did agree to subtract Sundays, did we not?
We didn't, ma'am.
Eyes. Certainly we did. I always subtract Sundays. I didn't make a note of it because I always do it. Don't you recall when I said we'd subtract Sundays?
No, ma'am.
Think.
No, ma'am.
You weren't thinking. Your eyes were wandering. Now, look straight at me and look hard. Do you remember now?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear you, Julia.
Yes, ma'am.
Good girl. I knew you'd remember. That's 9 Sundays, plus 3 holidays, correct?
2, ma'am. Just Christmas and New Year's.
And your birthday, that's 3.
But I worked on my birthday, ma'am.
You did? You didn't need to. My governesses never worked on their birthdays.
But I did work, ma'am.
That's not the point, Julia. We're discussing financial matters here. I will, however, only consider 2 holidays if you insist. Do you insist?
I did work, ma'am.
So you do insist.
No, ma'am.
Good. That's 3 holidays. That makes 12 rubles. 4 days, little Collier was sick and there were no lessons.
I gave lessons to Vanya, ma'am.
True, but you've been engaged to teach 2 children, not 1. Shall I pay you in full for only doing half the work?
No, ma'am.
Good. We'll deduct it then. 3 days you had a toothache, and my husband told you can not work after lunch.
After 4, ma'am. I worked until 4.
Well, I have here did not work after lunch. We have lunch at 1 and we're finished by 2, not 4, correct?
Yes, ma'am, but I worked...
That's another 7 rubles. So 12 and 7 make 19, subtract. 41 rubles, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
January 4th, you broke a teacup in a saucer. Is that true?
Just a saucer, ma'am.
What good is a teacup without a saucer, eh? That's 2 rubles. That saucer was an heirloom. It cost me much more. But let it go. I'm used to taking losses.
Thank you, ma'am.
January 9th, Kolya climbed a tree and tore his jacket.
I forbid him to do so, ma'am.
But he didn't listen, did he? 10 rubles. January 14th, Vanya's shoes were stolen.
By the maid. You discharged her yourself.
Yes, but you get paid good money to watch everything. I explained that clearly in our first meeting. Were you listening that day, Julia, or was your head in the clouds?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, your head was in the clouds.
No, ma'am, I was listening.
Good. That means another 5 rubles off. January 16th. I gave you 10 rubles.
You didn't.
No, I made a note of it. Why would I do that if I didn't give it to you?
I don't know, ma'am.
That's not a satisfactory answer, Julia. Why would I make a note of giving you 10 rubles if I didn't, in fact, give it to you? No answer? Then I must have given it to you, mustn't I?
Yes, ma'am. If you say so, ma'am.
Well, I certainly say so. That's the point of this little talk, to clear these matters up. Take 27 of 41. That leaves 14 rubles, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What's this? Tears? Are you crying? Has something made you unhappy, Julia? Please tell me. It pains me to see you like this. I'm so sensitive to tears. What is it?
It's just that since I've been here, I've only been given money by your husband. He gave me 3 rubles on my birthday.
He did? Really? I have no note of it in my book. I'll put it down now. Thank you for telling me. Sometimes I'm a little lax with my accounts, always shortchanging myself. So then, take 3 more rubles of 14. That leaves 11 rubles. Do you wish to check my figures?
That won't be necessary, ma'am.
Good. That's settled then. Your salary for 2 months is 11 rubles. Count it.
There's no need, ma'am.
Come. Let's keep our records straight. Go on, count it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's only 10 rubles, ma'am.
Are you sure? Possibly you dropped one. Look for it on the floor.
No, ma'am, I didn't drop any. I'm quite sure.
Well, it's not here on my desk, and I know I gave you 11 rubles. Look for it on the floor again.
It's all right, ma'am. 10 rubles will be fine.
Well, keep the 10 for now, and if you can't find the other one, we'll discuss it again next month.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You're very kind.
Julia, come back here.
Yes.
Why did you thank me?
For the money, ma'am.
For the money? Don't you realize what I've done? I've cheated you, robbed you. I have no such notes in my book. I made up whatever came into my mind. Instead of the 80 rubles I owe you, I gave you only 10. I've stolen from you, and still you thank me. Why?
In the other places I worked, they gave me no money, ma'am.
Well, they cheated you even worse than I did. I was just playing a little joke on you, a cruel little lesson to teach you you're much too trusting, and that's dangerous in this world. I'm going to give you the entire 80 rubles. I have it ready for you. The rest of it is in this envelope. Go on, take it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Julia, is it possible to be so spineless? Why don't you speak up? Why don't you cry out? Why don't you protest against this cruel and unjust treatment? Is it possible to be so guileless, so innocent, and forgive me for being so blunt, such a simpleton?
Yes, ma'am. It's possible.
Peter Semyonich was the greatest seducer of other men's wives that I've ever met. He was successful with all women, for that matter, but there was a special challenge to beautiful women married to rich, successful, prominent men. I could never do him justice. Let him tell you in his own words.
Corner for me to floss my teeth. Don't take it even by mistake. Thanks.
If I may say so myself, I am the greatest seducer of other men's wives that I have ever met. I say this not boastfully, but as a matter of record. The staggering figures speak for themselves. For those men willing to play this highly satisfying yet often dangerous game, I urge you to take out pen and paper and take notes. I am about to explain my methods. In defense, married women may do likewise, but it will do them no good if they happen to be the chosen victim. My method has never failed. Now then, there are 3 vital characteristics needed: patience, more patience, and still more patience. Those of you who do not have the strength to wait and persist, I urge you to take up bicycling, rowing perhaps. Seducing is not for you. Now then, in order to seduce another man's wife, you must, I repeat must, stay as far away from her as possible. Pay her practically no attention at all. Ignore her if you must. We will get to her through the husband. You are about to witness a practical demonstration, for as it happens, I'm madly and deeply in love this week. My heart pounds with excitement, knowing that she will pass through this garden in a few moments with her husband. Every fiber of my being tells me to throw my arms around her and embrace her with all the passion in my heart. But observe how a master works.
Yesterday, things very...
I shall be cool, almost to the point of freezing. My heart of hearts and spouse approach.
Ah, Peter. Fancy meeting you here.
My dear Nikolai, how good to see you. You're looking well. Notice how I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. And you gay devil, you're always looking well. Excuse me, have you met my wife, Irina? Of course. You sat next to her at dinner at the Vaishnovs. Irina, I don't know what this charmer said to you, but I must warn you, he's a scoundrel, a notorious bachelor, and an exceptional swordsman. That's the best I can do for you, Peter.
Oh, you exaggerate, Nicky. Madame, good to see you again.
We were just taking a stroll. If you're not too busy, why don't you walk with us?
Oh, that's very kind of you, Nikolaich. But as a matter of fact, I'm riveted to this spot. A new romance has entered my life, and my legs are like pillars of granite. And until she is out of my sight, I will be incapable of movement. Too much, do you think? As I said, be patient.
Fantastic. You never cease to amaze me. Pretty, I suppose.
Oh, suppose magnificent, suppose glorious, and you will suppose correctly.
Any complications?
As usual, a husband. I'm afraid my cause looks hopeless.
Nonsense. I'm placing my money on you, Peter. And you know I never bet unless I'm sure of winning. Well, we're off. Good hunting, my boy. Good hunting.
Madame. Beautifully done, don't you think? I'm sometimes awed by the work of a true professional. Did you notice how our eyes barely met? We exchanged hardly a word, and yet how much she knows of me already. A, that I'm a popular bachelor. B, a man in love, always titillating to a romantic woman. C, a gifted sportsman, a nice contrast to her sedentary husband. And D, and this is most important, a dangerous man with the ladies. Quite frankly, at this point of time, she's disgusted by me. A, because I'm a braggart and a scoundrel. B, because I'm shamelessly frank as to my intentions. And C, because she thinks she's not the one that I'm interested in. Forgive me if I get carried away by my own deviousness. Oh, by the way, I hope you're getting all this down. It gets a little tricky from here on in. Now then, next step. Hypnosis. Not hypnosis with the eyes, but with the poison of your tongue. Much like a venomous snake moving in for the kill. And what's more, the best channel is the husband himself. Witness as I accidentally run into him at the club one day.
Ah, Peter, you're looking glum. I take it your pursuit isn't going well.
Is it that obvious? I'm doomed, Nicky. I haven't seen her since I last met you and your dear wife. I eat little and I sleep less. I've had all my shirt collars taken in half an inch. Oh, Nicky, why do I waste my valuable youth chasing after women I can never truly call my own? How I envy you.
Me? What is it about me that you envy?
Hey, your marriage, of course. Charming woman, your wife, let me tell you.
Really? What is it about her that fascinates you so?
Why, her grace, her quiet charm. But most of all, it's the way she looks at you, Nicky. How I wish someone would look at me like that, with those loving, adoring eyes. Must send quivers through your body.
Quivers? No, not really.
A tingle, perhaps. Don't tell me you don't tingle when she looks at you.
Of course. I tingle all the time.
She's an ideal woman, Nicky. Take it from a lonely bachelor. And be glad that fate gave you a wife like that.
Maybe fate would be as kind to you.
That's what I'm counting on. Oh, good heavens. I'm late for my doctor's appointment.
What's it reading you for?
Melancholia. Do say hello to your extraordinary wife. But I urge you, do not repeat our conversation. It might embarrass her fragile sensitivities. Where, oh, where is the woman for me? I know where. Question is, how soon will she be mine? There is still work to be done, but not by me. That task falls upon my aide and accomplice, her husband. Oh, by the way, I saw Peter Semyonich today.
Oh, by the way, I saw Peter Semyonich today.
Who?
Peter Semyonich, the bachelor. We saw him in the gardens last week. That attractive fellow, you remember?
I remember what a loathsome man he is.
You may not think so when you hear what he had to say about you.
Nothing that braggart had to say would interest me.
He spoke most enthusiastically about you. He was enraptured by your grace, your quiet charm, and he seemed to feel that you were capable of loving a man in some extraordinary way. It was something about your eyes and the way you looked so adoringly. He certainly had a lot to say about you. He went on and on.
What else?
Hmm?
What else did he say about me?
Peter?
Whatever that loathsome man's name is, what else did Peter Semyonich say about me?
Well, that's more or less it, what I told you.
But you said he went on and on?
He did.
But you stopped. If he went on and on, don't stop. Go on and on. Or let's go to bed.
He said how much he envied me. How much he wanted someone to look at him the way you look at me.
How does he know how I look at you?
Well, that day in the gardens, he must have been looking at you when you were looking at me. It sent a tingle through my whole body.
The way I looked at you?
Exactly, my precious.
But you were looking at him. So you couldn't have seen how I was looking at you. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the flowers because he made me nervous, the way he kept avoiding looking at me. You must have tingled for some other reason.
It's getting rather confusing. The point is, he found you fascinating. I thought it would please you.
Well, it doesn't. And I'd rather you didn't tell me such stories. Are you planning to see him again soon?
Tomorrow for lunch.
Well, I'd rather not be discussed over lunch. Tell him that. And then at dinner, you can tell me what he said.
I'm spellbound by my own powers. I succeeded not only in piquing her interest, but causing her heart to flutter at the very mention of my name, a man she called loathsome not 5 minutes ago. And all this was accomplished, mind you, while I was at home taking a pine-scented bath. Luncheon the next day was not only nourishing, but also productive. By the way, old chap, I ran into Nekrasov yesterday. The artist. It seems he's been commissioned by some rich prince to paint the head of a typical Russian beauty. He asked me if I could find a model for him, and I said I knew just the woman, but I didn't dare ask her myself. What do you think about asking your wife?
Ask my wife what?
Why, to be the model, of course. That lovely head of hers. It would be a damn shame if that exquisite face missed the chance to be immortalized for all the world.
For all the world? Really? I see what you mean.
Why don't you discuss it with her?
Good idea. I'll discuss it with her.
And off he goes, faster than Cupid's arrow, with unerring accuracy to deliver my messages. But I am shameless. I shall persist till the almost certain end.
So I said I would discuss it with you. What do you think?
I think it's nonsense. I mean, how did he put it to you? Did he actually say a typical Russian beauty?
Precisely. And that it would be a damn shame if that exquisite face missed the chance to be immortalized for all the world. That's exactly what he said.
He gets carried away by the sound of his own voice. Those exact words, you didn't miss anything out.
Ah, yes. That lovely face. I left out that lovely face. He said that a number of times, I think.
He does go on, doesn't he? How many times did he say it? Once, twice, what?
Let me think. Oh, it's hard to remember.
Oh, it's not important. But in future, I do wish you'd write these things down.
Have you seen me near her? Have you seen me speak to her? Has any correspondence passed between us? No, my dear pupils, and yet she hangs on to my every word uttered by her husband. Awesome, isn't it? We apply this treatment for 2 to 3 weeks. Her resistance is weakening, weakening, weakening.
I think his mind is elsewhere, if you ask me. On some woman from the looks of him.
Woman? What woman? Has he mentioned any woman in particular?
Oh no, he's too discreet for that. He'll protect her good name at any cost. Instead, he talks of you all day. Poor fool. I'm beginning to feel sorry for him.
It's really none of our concern, Nikki. Did you ask him to dinner tomorrow night?
He's busy.
The day after, then?
Busy?
Next week? Next month? When? Doesn't the man eat?
Well, he says he's involved in a very important project, and it would be months before he can see us. He did say that with patience and persistence, all good things will come to him. Oh, by the way, he thinks you should go on the stage.
The stage? Me, on the stage? Why in heaven's name?
Well, he said, just a minute, I don't want to misquote him.
No, take your time. Try to get it as accurately as possible.
Ah, yes. He said with such an attractive appearance, such intelligence, sensitiveness, it's a sin for her to be just a housewife.
Oh dear.
And
He
that
said that?
And that ordinary demands don't exist for such women.
Nikki, I don't think I want to hear any more.
Natures like that should not be bound by time and space.
Nikki, I implore you, please stop.
And then he said, if I weren't so busy, I'd take her away from you.
He said that?
Right there.
What did you say to that, Nikki? It's important. I need to know what you said to that.
I said, well, take her then. I'm not going to fight a duel over her.
Nikki, you mustn't discuss me with him ever again. Promise me that you will never mention my name to him.
But I don't, my love. He's the one who always brings up the subject. He actually accused me of not understanding you. He shouted at me. She's an exceptional creature, strong, seeking a way out. If I were Turgenev, I'd put her in a novel. The passionate angel, I would call it. The man's weird. Definitely weird.
He's delivering my love letters, sealing them with kisses, and calls me weird. I ask you. All right, now let's see what we've got so far. The poor woman is consumed with a passion to meet me. She is sure that I am the only one who truly understands her. Her yawning, disinterested husband transmits my words, but it's my voice she hears, my words that sing in her heart. The sweet poison is doing its work. But I am relentless. There is no room for mercy in the seducing business. Observe how deftly the final stroke is administered. For the faint-hearted, I urge you, look away.
No, Nikki, not another word from him. I don't want to hear it. Nothing.
But exactly, that's what he said. He begged me to tell you nothing. He said because of your sweet, sympathetic nature, you would worry to hear of someone else's distress.
Distress? He's in distress?
Worse, he's gloomy, morose, morbid, in the depths of despair.
Oh no, but why? What's the matter?
Loneliness. He says he has no relatives, No true friends, not a soul who understands him.
But doesn't he know that we understand him perfectly? Doesn't he know that we long to be with him? Doesn't he know that we yearn to spend some time with him, you and I?
I tried to make that clear. I again urged him to come home to dinner with me. But he says he can't face people. He's so depressed he can't stay at home. Instead, he paces the public garden where we met him every night.
What time?
Between 8 and 9. Oh, by the way, we are invited to the Washkovics tomorrow. Is 8 o'clock all right for you?
No. I'm visiting Aunt Sophia. She's ill. I can be there by 9 or a little after.
Please, no applause. I couldn't have done it on my own. I share that honor with my close aide and accomplice, her husband. He wooed her so successfully that there is no carriage fast enough for her to be in my arms. She ran all the way. Observe. And now, for the final conclusion. You will understand if I ask you all to busy yourselves with your programs or such. The next few moments are private. And I am, after all, a gentleman. My dear sweet angel, at last I can speak the words that I have longed to.
No, not a word. Please, I couldn't bear it. Not until you've heard what's in my heart. These last few weeks, I've been in torment. You've used my husband as a clever and devious device to arouse my passions, which I freely admit have been lying dormant these last 7 years. Whether you are sincere or not, you have awoken in me feelings and desires that I never dreamt were possible. You appeal to my vanity, and I succumb. You bestow images of untold desires, and I weaken. You attack my every vulnerability, and I surrender. I am here, Peter Semyonich, if you want me. But let me add this. I love my husband dearly. He is not a passionate man, nor even remotely romantic. Our life together reaches neither the heights of ecstasy nor the depths of anguish. We have a moderate marriage. And in accepting that condition and the full measure of his devotion, I have been happy. I come to you now knowing that once you take me in your arms, my life and my marriage to Nikki will be over for all time. I am too selfish and too weak to make the choice. The option, my dear Peter, is yours. I rely on your strength of character. Whatever you choose will make me unhappy and eternally grateful. I beg of you not to use me as an amusement, although even with that knowledge, I would not reject you. I am yours, Peter Semyonich, to do whatever you will with. If you love me, turn your back now, and I will walk away, and I will never see or speak to you again. If you want me, open your arms, and I will come to you. The decision, my dearest, sweetest love, is yours. Thank you, Peter Semyonich. I wish that life brings you the happiness that you have just brought to me.
Peter Semyonich, the former seducer of other men's wives, from that day on turned his attention to single, unmarried women only. Until one day the perfect girl came along and the confirmed bachelor got married. He is now a completely happy man, except on those occasions when some dashing young officer comes up to him and tells him how attractive he finds his lovely young wife.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here with us this evening. Today is the inauguration of the Lady Andal Total Theatre Experience, and we're going to call it Latte, since it's easier to say. Well, if we do well, what we do hope is that the proceeds can be used to promote theatre, to have training, workshops, and so on. So that is what we are looking at. Now, for a few thank yous, which are so, so important. A big thank you to our sole sponsor, Mr. Amarnath Reddy of the AR Group. Our cast, who have gifted us of their time and effort and volunteered just from the goodness of their hearts to do the show for us. They are Mr. Neelakantan Nagaratnam, Mr. Gibran Osman, Mr. Alvin David, Ms. Malvika Arvind, Ms. Amira De Costa, Ms. Shan Katari, Ms. Shakti Girish, Mr. Akshay Pillai, and Mrs. Anupama Chandak. A very, very big thank you, for without them, we wouldn't be here today. Our director, the talented Mr. Michael Muthu, and his backstage team, assisted by our Lady Andal team of Ravi, Shankar, Jayseelan, and Dominic. Mr. Dipesh Jain of Sugan and Mrs. Chitra Ravi of Easy Vidya, we thank them for sponsoring the printing of the program sheets and off-stage outdoor support. To Ms. Dhwani of Olive for the artwork. To Mark DeMel, Director Convex Studios, for conceiving the Latte logo. And the idea, the name, came from Ms. Sabrina Rajan. A thank you to Mrs. Sunita Suresh for organizing the articles in the New Indian Express, the Economic Times, Deccan Chronicle, and the Hindu. Mrs. Bhavani and her husband for the mobile advertisement van. Some of you might have seen it on the roads. Mr. Krish Kumar and the team from the Samuta Venkat Subbarao Concert Hall for all the amenities here. Moms Club for their support. A big thank you to Mr. Shanmugam of Lady Andal School for coordinating our innumerable requirements, including ensuring there was a warm cup of latte when Latte was rehearsing. Now we come to the backbone of Latte. Mrs. Sabrina Rajan and Mrs. Sheetal Parekh. It's rather a question of what haven't they done to make this event happen, because what they have done is too long a list. My most grateful thanks to them. Both with young children and homes to look after, they were completely committed and have pulled it off. Then, of course, there has to be a ringmaster, which was ably and enthusiastically played by Mr. Rafiq Said, the chairman of FOTS Friends of the School. He guided us every step of the way and arrange for our sponsor. Even if I say so, I think it's quite a good effort from a committee of 4. Rafiq, Sabrina, Sheetal, and me. Thank you, Rafiq, and all the people I have just thanked for making Latte happen and to have made one more dream of mine a reality with so much ease. Let the play continue.